In the words of Adele, bear with me, Batman Arkham Knight could have had it all. It could have been the finale of one of the greatest superhero trilogies of all time, with one of the most beloved characters of all time, headed up by one of the greatest developers of all time. But for one reason or another, whether it be the Batmobile, or just folding under the pressure of trying to write a story without the Joker, or just trying to think of ways to innovate on gameplay that was already pretty perfected, I'm gonna say Rocksteady kinda dropped the ball. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and it's time to air those grievances. This is how they should have made Batman Arkham Knight. Number 10, spread it out over more than one night. Like Arkham Origins, Knight took on the time frame of setting all its events across one evening. From the string of main missions which take hours to complete, to side missions, collectibles, general exploration in between, we were meant to believe that it had all happened in the span of around 9 hours, max. Assumedly, this was done to show Batman being pushed to breaking point, as all his greatest enemies descended on Gotham at once. But with all the will in the world, it's a tough sell to conceptualize. The only way this could make any logical sense was in reducing the amount of side missions to only a handful, alongside ensuring they only took minutes to complete. That served Batman being a badass, sure, but it made all his villains feel like bit part characters. Busy work even, rather than some part of a larger narrative that could have introduced them over the course of multiple missions. Number 9, leave the Joker dead. Yes, Mark Hamill is brilliant as the Joker, and yes, he makes for some of the best Batman stories of all time, but killing him at the close of Arkham City was an immensely brave move that made all of us recoil in pure astonishment. Did they really just do that? Did they actually just, they killed the Joker? That's going to be pretty brilliant. I mean, they're going to have to do something phenomenal, amazingly original, and oh, he's back in, isn't he? Turns out the answer was no. They didn't even need to think about such things, as thanks to Joker's infected Titan blood getting inside Batman's veins, he then appeared as a hallucination across the entire game. From being in ventilation shafts to full-on cutscenes, and especially the ending wrap-up, Rocksteady had their whole "is he really dead" cake, and ate it too. As such, the one-dimensional Arkham Knight and barely seen Scarecrow played second fiddle to a climax that saw Batman fighting Joker inside his own mind. And although that made for some pretty cool metaphorical depictions of their clashing ideologies, ultimately it felt shoehorned in to appease the masses, rather than capitalizing on the fact that Batman had just lost his other half. Number 8, make the Arkham Knight someone, anyone, other than Jason Todd. Todd was always the immediate assumption, the one that gathered the most steam, made the most sense in terms of his backstory, and had all of us going, yep, it's him, from the very first thing he says on screen. The sad thing is, figuring out and then guessing the Arkham Knight's identity in the run-up to release was some of the most fun comic fans have had since DC asked us whether or not we wanted Robin to die in the first place. Could the Knight be Azrael, Damian Wayne, a cyborg, perhaps some Court of Owls assassin? No, it was Jason Todd, because at the end of the day, Arkham Knight was being made for the widest audience possible. But why not have the Arkham Knight literally be an entirely new character? Some of the best Batman stories have come from newcomers, so why not pick someone random, perhaps a no-named character we failed to save or did wrong in an older game, only to see that repercussion play out in full? Anything other than Jason Todd. Number 7, have side missions that do their characters justice. It comes to something when even Mr. Freeze's mission only lasted a few minutes. Coming off Arkham City in what's easily one of the most influential boss battles of all time, fans were rightly expecting Victor's story segment to be another one for the ages. Nope. Like every other character that had previously been given the appropriate attention to detail, his portrayal was shunted. Professor Pig got one of the most dark and twisted inclusions of them all, but others like Firefly, Two-Face, and Man-Bat were reconciled to one gameplay mechanic repeated multiple times. Sadly, despite Rocksteady's most impressive character models yet, they again felt like busy work. And when you've got characters like these on hand, not making the most of them was just disappointing. Number 6, give Scarecrow a real motive and overall purpose. Think about it for a second. What was Scarecrow's motive, role in Arkham Knight? I'll give you a minute. To envelop Gotham in fear toxin, right? Well, yes, but why? Why does he want to do anything to Batman other than just for the sake of it? We never know, as outside of revenge for being bested in Arkham Asylum, the only reason he's even in the story is to facilitate one particular level when the bombs go off, and then we're treated to a really cool looking version of Gotham as it's engulfed in smog. Then it's over, and things go back to normal. The many aspects of how Joker invades Bruce's psyche would have fit far more comfortably around constant exposure to fear toxin, to the point where it then leaves Bruce in a fractured mental state. In fact, there's every possibility that this was the original plan, before more Joker was tagged onto the initial feedback forms. It's pretty clear that a game focused entirely on Scarecrow capitalizing on Bruce's emotions following the death of Joker would have been far more compelling. Scarecrow would therefore have been Bruce's ultimate mental test, while the Arkham Knight would have been the physical side of that coin, together providing one hell of a final encounter that could have combined dream sequences with brutal hand-to-hand fights as you alternate fighting them both at the same time. Number 5, make fighting the Arkham Knight epic as hell. First, you blast the Arkham Knight in a helicopter, then an underground maze chase with an awkwardly ping-ponging Batmobile careening off the walls, and finally a weird setup that forces Batman to sneak up on him 3 times in a row. All of them are pretty terrible. Considering the Arkham Knight continually bested Batman in everything from cutscenes to PR materials, going toe-to-toe with him should have been a lightning-fast exchange of fists, gadgets, and ingenuity. Playing up to the fact that he knows all of your moves better than you would be top priority, as opposed to the weirdly scattershot approach and the instant best friends again switch that we received instead. Number 4, have a definitive ending. What's the ending to Arkham Knight? Is it when Bruce and Gordon go to take down Scarecrow? When the Nightfall Protocol shows Wayne Manor go sky high? Or when the little addendum scene implies that Bruce, Azrael, or someone else entirely is still using Scarecrow's toxin to rule the streets through fear alone? That's the problem. We don't know. As is the case with the Arkham series being as popular as it is, Rocksteady were likely asked to leave a handful of options wide open for other developers to pick up as and when they see fit. In the comics, Scott Snyder's Endgame arc had Batman and Joker wipe each other out at the same time, only for the final panel to hint in the most subtle way possible that there could have been a way for Bruce to survive. By contrast, Arkham Knight's various endings had no confidence behind them, emblematic of trying to satisfy everyone and missing the mark entirely. Oh, but that might have had something to do with the fact that they had Season Pass content to sell. Number 3, ensure Season Pass content is worthwhile. There's a lot to pick apart with the Season Pass offerings, but for now, let's just go with the idea that they were a good thing. It's hard to stomach, I know. For Arkham Knight, it allowed Rocksteady to keep making content for a number of months after launch. The thing is, from start to finish, it was handled very poorly. Initially, we only got the barest idea of what was actually on offer, as only vague descriptions of additional missions were released in detail. Then, the pre-order bonuses of Red Hood and Harley Quinn mission packs could be completed in 15 minutes max. Following this, the majority of the Season Pass content was costume or Batmobile racetrack related. It was less that Rocksteady wanted to continue fleshing out Batman's world and delivering fan service, and more that these missions felt siphoned off from the main game, their runtime conducive to a standard side mission, not standalone purchasable products. Number 2, reduce the Riddler's raceways and lose the mech boss. In striving to evolve the base idea of the Riddler filling out the game environment with tons and tons of puzzles to solve, Arkham Knight saw him somehow develop the superpowered ability to single-handedly build entire raceways underground, ones that were complete with moving parts, death-dealing traps, and huge moving platforms. The gameplay behind them, which amounted to time trials and dodging environmental hazards, was rote and tired at best. And it stood out like a sore thumb, especially when Riddler revealed his final form to be a whopping great mech. We needed well-written riddles that the Riddler himself would inevitably give away clues to solving through his incessant need to placate his own ego. Not a quick-time event beatdown that felt as though it spelt out "brawn is better than brains" across the screen. Number 1, lose the Batmobile puzzle sections and the tank battles. By far and away, the lasting negative point surrounding Arkham Knight is the Batmobile. Whilst personally I think its introduction is one of the coolest moments in the entire canon,
evening the odds.
The forced decision to then have it be the linchpin of certain missions just felt a bit off-kilter with Batman otherwise being the world's greatest detective. It instantly made me think of loads of similar situations from the past games where we would have done things without the aid of a vehicle. Now, it may not be that these sections need to be ditched altogether, but simply doled out more sporadically, and in line with Batman's established abilities. The moment where you get out of an early showdown with the Arkham Knight by having the Batmobile take out his guards was spot on, and made you genuinely feel like Bruce, half improvising, half always having a backup plan. As for the tank battles, they too needed to be rooted in escalation. The final act of defending the GCPD should have been the first time you really put your skills to the test, facing off against waves of drones in numbers you'd never seen before, not yet another battle that you'd played way too many times before. In far smaller bursts, it would have worked way better. So that's my list. That's how I would change Batman Arkham Knight. I think that's how Rocksteady should have made it, but I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you would have done too. What do you make of the Joker? What do you think of Arkham Knight's identity? What do you think of Bruce's personality and Jim Gordon? There's a whole host of things that we could change and we can debate, so please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook here. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.